Hi everyone, it's me again. It's me, Yasmin, and I'm very excited today because we are doing something new. We are still doing a fun interview with one of our amazing clients, but this is new because we will be talking about our amazing video editing services in the Freedom Geek. And so, without further ado, let's give it up for none other than Joshua Scott.
Oh yeah, how you
Hi,
doing?
Joshua. Thank you very much for being in this interview. And of course, talking to us about the video editing services. My very first question, of course, would be please, could you tell us a bit more about you?
Yeah. I'm in the marketing department at our business. It's called White Box. Basically, we run training courses in property development. So basically, just teaching people how to get started in property and try and like build a portfolio from there. So we just came across you guys because my boss, he's been using you guys for VA services and stuff like that, and then we saw that you do video editing and stuff like that. So yeah, and we needed help to try and really push on YouTube and podcast material to sort of engage people and build that trust with them before necessarily hopping on a course straight away. And we found the video editing services really handy for that because we didn't really have enough capability in-house to do that because we have so many different things going on. And then that really helped lessen the burden to get the video editors on board, and they produce really, really high quality videos for us to share online.
Avail our video editing services, I think, for a few months now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. I don't know specifically, but it's definitely been since probably the start of the year, I think. So, looking at over 6 months probably. So yeah, literally every single week we'll be sending across half an hour long podcasts and stuff like that. They get the audio version, video version, short form content to share on social media as well. And it's all done within 8 hours to 10 hours, which is fantastic. And yeah, like I said, it just lessens the burden of the in-house team, so then we can focus on doing other tasks while sharing all this content that is made to like a really high standard as well. So yeah, it's been really, really enjoyable, and everyone's been loving the podcast, so we can't complain.
How has that formed the business aside from it lessening the burden? Of course, like really outsourcing completely everything, content from audio, video. Yeah, how has that transformed the business so far?
Yeah, it's been quite big, to be fair. So on our courses, the 3-day one is in person, and when we obviously meet those people in person, everyone seems to know the podcast, and some people even quoting episodes from the podcast. So it's becoming a real big trust timer into the fact of why people are coming on the courses and why they're purchasing the courses from us, which is literally dedicated to those videos, those podcasts, those audio files that we share every week. And yeah, like I said, that being able to outsource that and not having to really worry about that, only to upload the files. And after I'd say a couple of weeks, the branding and the style that we want was implemented, and I haven't had to really make a tweak since in terms of that. You just send across your branding card and it's been perfect ever since. So yeah, it's really, really helped us sort of almost build a community as well through the podcast, so people are just enjoying listening to it, and like I said, like quoting specific episodes and stuff like that, which I think is really, really interesting, something we didn't think would happen necessarily this fast because the podcast has only really been launched since sort of the back end of 2022.
How did you find the process with the Freedom Geek? So just I guess a quick introduction into how we do our video editing services is have a relationship manager assigned to you who can of course take care of you throughout the entire process of liaising with you with the in-house video editors that we have within the Freedom Geek. Of course, we do take a lot of time understanding your branding, how you want the videos to be done. We do ask you for sample videos of how you want the videos to be edited. How did you find that, I guess, smooth process of course talking to me first so I can explain to you what we do, and then of course me handing you over to experience that?
Yeah, no, I thought it's a really sort of good idea as to how to make it as easy for us as possible, because if we were going to 3 or 4 editors, different editors, I think we'd get 3 or 4 different results. Whereas with obviously the relationship manager, Gio, he's been fantastic. in terms of sort of just, yeah, if we need something doing, he'll just refer that on to the editors, and it's usually done pretty swiftly as well, which is great. And like I said, with like anything branding wise, it's just been perfect. And as long as what I think works the best sort of thing is when we send across the examples, that's the best, because then I think visually we're both on the same page then as well, so we both know what sort of end result we want. And I think that's been great. So if anyone has sort of like actual visual examples of what they're thinking about in terms of the video editing and stuff like that, even if it's taken from someone else and you want it similar to someone else, I think it's great to sort of implement that anyway, because then both parties know what the end goal is, and it makes it a lot easier.
Is it okay if you can kind of talk about what editing we have done for you so far, just so that we have an idea of the content that we have produced?
Yeah, it's literally everywhere. So we get a lot of short form content. So for Reels, Shorts, and TikTok, our biggest platform is TikTok. We've got over 20,000 followers on there, so we try and keep quite consistent on there. We've like, what I describe it as is like a top and bottom style of TikTok. So there'll be the person speaking on the bottom, and then there'll be like a graphic above or videos above. And getting that across in terms of the branding has been perfect, because it's quite a difficult style to sort of implement straight away, but straight from the off, that's been perfect. And we've seen quite a good sort of reaction to those Reels and TikToks as well. So that's been one of the best things. We also do weekly YouTube videos that is usually edited by the editors as well. So depending on what sort of style the video is, we've had green screen style content on there. We've had like interview style content, montages, that sort of thing. So it's a wide varied sort of mid to long form content on YouTube. And then, like I mentioned as well, the podcast where there's audio, there's full video, multiple camera shots. So yeah, and again, Reels with that. So literally just every type of content basically is getting edited for us, which is great.
Could you kind of talk to us about like the process of your deciding factor in terms of what you like about the Freedom Geek, and why you, of course, consistently choose the Freedom Geek amongst other companies out there, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so like as I mentioned, obviously my bosses have used Freedom Geek for the VAs beforehand, and they've had like a really good relationship with you guys prior to that, in terms of there's always been like reliability there, and that's what we needed the most. Like we've had video editors in the past, but not necessarily been as reliable. There's been delays, things like that, which is really annoying. Like you said, when trying to keep consistency, that's one of the key things. And if there's delays on, like if we get a podcast out every Wednesday and it doesn't come out on a Wednesday, then there's an issue there. So that's one of the main things that we looked out for, and we knew that the reliability would be there. So that was one of the key deciding factors, because I think, like you say, a lot of people can offer maybe a same or similar service, but I think the reliability and those smaller, finer details, like you get with obviously Geo and the sort of the relationship manager, makes everything so much more easier. So yeah, so they were probably the deciding factors, I'd say, because it just, we wanted it to just implement into what we do already seamlessly and not have to worry about it too much, which is absolutely done that, which has been perfect.
Could you maybe talk a bit more about just the logistics of how you give the video to us and up until the end of us sending it to you, like how your thoughts around that, or any surprising things that you like about the process?
Yeah. So what happened, so we'll shoot a video, for example. I'll just take like a YouTube video, for example. So we'll shoot it. What we'll do, so you have Asana, which is basically just a place where you can upload your files and the task. So you'll create a task. Basically, you just fill out a Google form in essence of what you want the title to be, what you want the style to be, any sort of examples, any branding differentiality from different videos, stuff like that. So you fill that all out. If you want captions embedded, what sort of size you want it, everything like that. It was all on the card. So everyone's on the same page basically. So you fill that out and then you upload the files as well. That has been perfect. And then from there, you sort of leave it, and you don't really have to touch it until you get the first review, which is great. And then you sort of either see a little preview, or sometimes we see the whole thing, depending on how long the piece of content is. So you obviously watch that. Any sort of changes you want, you can just feed back to either Geo, your relationship manager, or you can feed back to the editors directly on the card, which I think is really handy as well, because sometimes obviously I think Gio was on holiday one week, and then so he let me know that he was on holiday, so I was still able to get all the work done, but just through a different means of communication, through commenting on the cards, which is great. And it's great to give them feedback as well, because then if you give them good feedback or positive and negative feedback, they'll take that in to account for the next edits and stuff like that. So I think that's really, really handy. And something that I liked the most was probably the approve or review or reject sort of system. It's like a traffic light system when sort of approving your videos. I think that makes it so much easier to understand if you're happy with the content, if that makes sense, because you could just leave the content being like, oh yeah, that's great, and then come back another time and have some changes, whereas that sort of makes it sort of definitive, which I quite like. And then everyone again is on the same page, which again, the communication side of things is really, really important. I think that's done to a T, really, and it's perfect.
Cool. Yes, we do definitely like that, approve, decline type of system, because we want to really understand if this is something that you are happy with, because if you're not happy with it, then we'd rather know that and actually edit it to the way you want it to be. So definitely communication is very important to us. Relationship manager is definitely one of the things that Imogen really thought of in terms of really making sure that our clients are well taken care of. So having that relationship manager in place to really liaise with you and the video editors to make sure that communication wise everything is good, there aren't any problems in terms of communicating what it is that you want or how you want the videos to be edited is very important to us. But we are getting close to the end of this interview, Joshua. I do want to ask you, do you have any message or advice to entrepreneurs who are kind of interested to create content, put content out there, but they're quite hesitant to outsource their video editing to somebody else?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot we've touched on in the previous parts. If you want to stay consistent on social media, you need to have that constant stream of content all the time. And sometimes editing it can become that big roadblock, like you said. So outsourcing it, like we have done here, like I've said, with the results on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, every single social platform, we've grown massively. And I don't think we necessarily would have grown to that extent without the consistency, like we've touched on. So yeah, I think it's so important. And if you're starting out, or even if you're well established, like we've got thousands of followers on all platforms, and I think that you need to have that consistency, because otherwise it just becomes stagnated, and then there's just no fresh content there for your viewers to engage with, to build trust with your business. And that's one of the key things for us, hence why we created a podcast, because the trust there, they're spending hours upon hours listening to your podcast. So it's really, really important that the content that you provide is great, but also the way that it comes across in terms of the editing is really, really crisp and fine there too. So yeah, it's been a brilliant service, and I'd recommend it to all entrepreneurs starting out.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I think my favorite thing that what you said just now would be, if you want to build trust with your audience, because it is very, very important to definitely have that relationship and communication with your audience. And of course, the best way to go about it would be to produce content and to post it out there. And if our clients are having that biggest roadblock of editing the videos, then it would be really great to outsource video editing to a company like the Freedom Geek. But thank you so much, Joshua. That concludes our interview for today. So again, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.